Eagles training camp day 10. A lot to discuss, guys, regarding the game on Friday. We have football this week, which is fantastic. I hope everybody's been in high spirits because we're about to see this roster unfold. A lot of news on Nick Sirianni. Kind of apologized today. I have to give him respect on some of the things he did say today. And just what is the plan for this week and, going on to next week. So it's going to be interesting. Let's get into practice. All the good news as usual. Let's get into it.
A killer buried, but not dead.
Darren, we better turn around. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what's going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. So we're going over some news for the Philadelphia Eagles as usual, and a lot to discuss here regarding the Philadelphia Eagles, Friday's preseason game, and I'm so excited, like beyond. I mean, we actually have football this week. Everybody should be in high spirits. We're ready to go, see this roster unfold the way it is and kind of just see what happens at this point. Now, the first thing I want to go over is the, people, the guys that didn't practice for day 10. It's really been the same list at this point with Oren Burks being out pretty much this whole entire offseason program. Paris Campbell out with the groin, C.J. Gardner-Johnson out with the shoulder, Mecky Gardner out with the hamstring, Brandon Smith with a concussion. Most likely these guys will probably not play this week, so definitely want to wait on that going forward. Now, regarding the preseason game, I don't know how much these starters are getting playing time. Hopefully we get an answer on something regarding the rotation and how much they're playing. You have 3 preseason games. If it was up to me as of right now, I would be at least playing these guys for a quarter for the first game, playing these guys a half for the second game, and obviously resting the guys for the third game. Okay, you have another coordinator this year. New offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator for another year. Okay, they have to gel. Okay, you need game-like situations, okay? I understand you could take value out of joint practices, but there are obviously cons about joint practices as well because you can't tackle quarterbacks, and it's not a game-like situation. They could try to make it as much as a game-like situation as possible when it comes to joint practices, but for me, it's just not enough. You really have to get the starters in. I'm not saying you have to start everybody, but at least with some of the new guys or, just they have to do some things on both sides of the ball. They got to start some guys. They just have to. Jalen Herz, definitely want to see him get some more than just one series of reps. Not one series where it's a 3 and out and then you sit him the whole entire preseason. I don't want to deal with that. I feel like they really need to take a step forward, get in a little bit more work during these preseason games. They'll have some major rest the day before, and we'll see what happens. So when we get an answer on that, we'll figure it out by that time. Okay. Now, defensive lineup has pretty much been the same thing. 7th time that Isaiah Rodgers at cornerback 2. You had Zach Bond, Devin White at linebacker, Trotter, and obviously Dean with the second team. Safety, you have had Quinyon Mitchell at nickel, as usual. He's been playing the inside. We'll see how that goes. And Fangio has said that he feels like Quinyon Mitchell can handle playing nickel in dime packages. So it's good that Vic Fangio is saying that, he can play on the inside great. And I mean, if Quinyon can come out of this year, out of 2024 after a great season and hopefully a Super Bowl win and hopefully something just so great, that he could play both positions, to have a first-round pick as a hybrid guy that could play both positions very well. It's very good. So glad to hear the news on that. Safety-wise, you had Avonte Maddox starting next to Reed Blankenship, but James Bradbury did get reps afterwards. So you're kind of seeing a trend of what's really been going on here. We know the depth at safety is really bad. We know cornerback is loaded right now, and Cooper DeJean hopefully will be back next week with everything going on. So, but just remember, guys, we went to this 10th day of Eagles training camp, and it looks like they treated warm-ups like walkthroughs, so they weren't wearing pads. So I honestly don't know if they wore pads the rest of the day or was this just for warm-up. So I'm not really sure about that, but we'll just go on like it was a normal day for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, offensive line-wise, you had Mekhi Becton with the first team, and you had Tyler Steen with the second team. Tyler Steen's been back for a couple days, and seems like Becton is the favorite. As much as the coaches will say it's wide open right now, don't believe a word, don't believe everything they say, because they don't want to give anything away right now, especially because with 30 something days, how many days we have away from the season, they don't want to tell or give teams any information on who's going to be their starting guy. I mean, other teams could figure it out. But I think Becton is honestly taking this job. I do want to see Steen. I want to see Juergens in this preseason game. Juergens has been playing well. Lane Johnson, a great thing about Cam Juergens, that because, and just remember, Cam Juergens has done a lot of track and field stuff. He's got a lot of toughness. His form is really good, and Jason Kelsey's been mentoring him. Jeff Stoughton's been under his belt about everything. So I'm excited to see Cam for what he's going to do, and it should be really exciting. Now, I think one guy during practice today did really well. Grant Calcaterra is really solidifying himself to be the number 2 tight end. I mean, thank God at this point, because I feel like we really, really need a home run here at tight end. We really do. Dallas Goedert is what? He's 28 years old right now. I think he plays throughout his contract I think when he turns 30. So you trade for Albert O last year. You got no production out of him because you barely even used him. Jack Stahl went to the Giants, which I thought he was our number 2 tight end. But as the number 2 tight end, you have to block well, okay? And obviously, you have to have reliable hands too. And I thought Jack Stahl has been a nice balance, but went to the Giants, unfortunately, which really sucks. But Calcaterra's got some speed. He can get separation. He can contested catch. So he's, I think, he's had some starting experience as well, so it's nice to see him. He caught like 3 balls. One was like a 25-yarder today, and a couple more. So he's looking really good. Even from the open practice that we've seen too, he looked really productive as well. So at least we're starting to get somewhere with tight end, because I feel like tight end will be a major find for the Eagles next year in the offseason, whether it's free agency, whether it's the draft, whatever. Most likely probably will be the draft, because I don't see them not, drafting a tight end high next year, but we'll get there when we get there. So all we're worried about is this year. If they're keeping 3 tight ends, it probably will be Goedert, Calcaterra, and most likely Albert O to this point. CJ Usama, I have no idea what's been going on with him. I haven't heard one thing. 31-year-old tight end, came from the Jets. A few years ago, he was good, but past year or two, he hasn't done a damn thing. So, we really are pulling, because we're hoping Dallas Goedert could stay healthy. I understand some of the injuries aren't his fault, but he needs to stay healthy this year and be available for this team. So, nice to see Calcaterra kind of putting in the work right there, which is fantastic. But really, from the defensive line to the linebackers as well, like Ben Van Simmeren had a sack today. Brandon Graham had a sack today. Moro Jomo as a 7th-round pick, man, and flashed like he did at the end of last season. Man, he's been getting pressure on this offense like crazy. Moro Jomo is going to be interesting. Milton Williams is great because he can play inside, outside, so you can do whatever you want with him because he has the versatility. But excited for the rest of these guys. Moro Jomo, and linebacker's been pretty good. Nakobe Dean made a play. You had Trotter Jr. that got in there, was real physical today. So I'm excited to see I feel like we're watching Trotter Jr.'s growth as the days go on. Really, since the open practice, he's been making at least one play, on defense, every camp day, which is fantastic, which is awesome, and hopefully to see more from him going forward. Now, when it comes to the wide receivers, guys, I thought they did a really good job today, because we did get Britton Covey on a contested catch. I think it was from Pickett today, so he had a nice catch today. Johnny Wilson started with the first team today, but on the depth chart, he is the replacement for A.J. Brown on the outside right now. Now, Paris Campbell is out, so I think Paris Campbell would be maybe the replacement. Maybe he'd be Devontae Smith's replacement. Is Johnny Wilson really making a push right now? Can't wait to see the preseason game to see what he could do, and hopefully these quarterbacks can give us some good looks, and Jalen Hurts should be throwing to multiple different guys and see what they could do against another team, another uniform, all that great stuff. So wide receiver Britton Covey making it, really, since Paris Campbell gets hurt, guys have opportunity, and Britton Covey has been great, has been fantastic. Johnny Wilson, fantastic. The last couple days haven't really heard too much from John Ross, but he still has had a solid camp. Hopefully to see more in the preseason game on Friday, which is great. Now, regarding the safety position, I know everybody is freaking out right now. What's going on with this team? And I get it because, you're down Sidney Brown. You're down Chauncey Gardner-Johnson right now. Cooper DeJean hasn't even practiced once in training camp yet. We don't even know what his timetable is. Hopefully August 11th, where next week he could come back and start fresh and be ready for joint practices and 2 preseason games. Okay. Now, already not even a day, we're like Justin Simmons, but I haven't really been rolling for this move. I mean, really, I don't even know what to do at this point because I'm hearing don't let Bradbury play safety because if he does, he's going to run with it. And it looks like he is running with it. But with his salary, I don't know. Chauncey is going to come back. To have James Bradbury as the second team safety to replace, Reed or replace Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, he's making way too much money just to sit on the bench at this point. Or if they do 3 safety sets or whatever they're going to do in this defense, Justin Simmons is visiting with the Saints, or did. So we'll see what happens there to try to get a deal done. So Josine Anderson says, timing update. I'm told the Saints meeting with free agent safety Justin Simmons is mid to late this afternoon following all his medical, etc. per source. Consummation on the deal will come down to Simmons' comfort with how he'd be utilized and if the team can meet his camp's financial mark. So we already talked about this. He's waited out this long at 31 years old because he wants a starting job, number one. Number two, he's looking for a specific deal. Okay. Sometimes these guys won't get what they want this late in the process at this point. We know that, if the Eagles haven't even brought him in for a workout or had him on a visit at this point, I don't know when it's going to happen. He might sign with the Saints. He might not. At this point, it's looking like it's more of a money situation, and I need to guarantee that I'm starting on a team right now. But to me, from how this looks, it's looking like they feel comfortable with Bradbury for depth, and they don't mind paying him on his salary, as a backup. So is it better for Bradbury to play safety? If he plays really good lights out, yes, it's great. But he's not going back to cornerback. That's the thing. The whole thing was, as long as he doesn't play cornerback, I don't care what happens to him at this point. Stay away from corner. Let the youth movement let the youth movement roll. That's what we really need here. So if Bradbury was playing corner and was competing, I would try to get him out of here as fast as possible. But if he hasn't played corner at all. If he's not even touching the position, he's just strictly playing safety. I'm fine with it. I'm not fine with what he's making as a backup, but we're hearing he's playing really well. And I eat my words on Kenneth Gainwell, and who knows? I eat my words on James Bradbury transitioning to a new position at safety. I got to respect James Bradbury because he took himself right out of the competition at corner because you knew Isaiah Rodgers was coming in. They drafted 2 guys in the secondary, first 2 picks. So I guess that makes sense, right? So that's the news on that situation. I'll let you guys know if Justin Simmons gets signed by tomorrow, the next day, next week, whatever the case may be. Now, the kick return situation is interesting, too, because we talked about they had a few group pairings for kick return. I'm excited about kick return this year. So it looks like the first group that the Eagles are going with is Isaiah Rodgers and Kenny Gainwell. All right, Kenny Gainwell, not really a big fan of. For special teams especially. Stick to being a running back. I don't know if Kenneth Gainwell brings anything really. Maybe they want Isaiah Rodgers to get more of these returns and maybe have Kenny G as the blocker. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But Isaiah Rodgers has been a return specialist in the past. He's got highlights. He's done it before, and he's fast. Some people are saying he's faster than a 4.3 right now, that he's got the most speed out of anybody. If he's got more speed than John Ross, we'll see. So that's the first team. Britton Covey and Will Shipley as the second team. Anais Smith and probably John Ross will be the third team most likely. Anais Smith needs to make some noise somewhere. I mean, I'm very upset that Anais Smith hasn't done anything. I don't know if it's just a mental thing going on. Some guys just don't have good camps, and sometimes they get into a regular season when they have an opportunity and play really well, and the story ends. Like, There are guys in the NFL that are Pro Bowlers that have had bad combines, that have bad preseason games, bad camps. It's happened before. You know what I mean? So I will see what happens with that situation. But punt return, it'll probably be Covey most likely. I haven't heard much about punt return the last 5 days, but kick return has been kind of being the big talk right now because obviously the rule change, everything's looking real different there, and new pairings, and we have a lot more speed now. We have a lot more speed. Will Shipley's involved on kick returns too. A lot more speed now. They brought a lot more into the building, and a lot of different guys. So they'll be rotating guys that punt return, kick return, all that great stuff. So that was really good. Now, last on my list to go through this, I don't want to make this another 7, 8, 10, 20, 30, 40 days, okay, of time, because I don't want to waste anybody's time today. But the one thing I have to talk about today is Nick Sirianni, okay? Now, there was the media just wouldn't stop with these questions, and to a point where I think Nick just wanted to end this whole thing. Jalen Herz wanted to end this whole thing today, too. Now, Nick was obviously asked about the same stuff that happened last year, and now Nick did tell the media, or Nick Sirianni told the team in their first team meeting that he's taking the blame for how last season ended. Here's Nick explaining why he left. So he explains that it's really accountability. He says a lot more things. Nick was really honest. I have to give him a lot of respect, a lot of credit. It says Eagles Nick Sirianni was super honest to the team and Howie Roseman this spring about last year's collapse. Now, this was a big article by Tim McMahon. It actually was a really good article. It wasn't so negative and murdering somebody, but it actually was really good. So he said last year was on me, on my shoulders. I didn't get it done. He took full responsibility that he felt he let the team down and didn't do a good job of the empowering the players, team source said. So there's been a lot of team sources saying that Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie during this downfall from 10-1 to 1-7, really the rest of the season, they didn't really go down on him at all. Pause. They didn't reprimand him or nothing, which I get it. You know what I mean? They treated it very softly. They didn't want to hammer on him when it came to what the Eagles, how they were failing last year. There was no arguments between ownership to GM to the head coach. Nick just tried to do something new last year, and he couldn't do it. He had no experienced coaches around him to take over play calling or do anything. There was no experience within the offense. There was no experience within the defense. Nick had his hands wrapped around pretty much everything, and it just didn't work out. And Nick just kind of buried himself at the end of the year. So for Nick to say, and the one thing he did say was really accountability at this point. He talked about the accountability that you don't really see much accountability in this new day and age, which I could totally see that everybody always has a freaking excuse all the time on things. So it was nice to hear him say that, but obviously changes were needed. That's why he's got no control over anything this year. That's why Hertz has had a close relationship with Kellen Moore. Nick Sirianni just needs to empower his players, let him maintain this culture, and let him motivate his guys. That's all he should be doing. There is nothing wrong with being a hands-off coach, okay, at all. Vic Fangio definitely has full control, 100%. He does. And Kellen Moore is literally orchestrating a brand new offense with some specific things that Hertz liked from last year that they're going to incorporate as well into the offense, but most of it is brand new. Nick can't be involved. We can't have too many cooks in the kitchen, and you can't just game plan an offense and just give it to a guy that's calling your offense, and you're not even calling your offense. If you're game planning, why aren't you calling your offense? You know what I mean? So last year was a big hiccup. And that season is not going to define us going forward. I know this. I know we're not going to play as bad as that because that is just one season I'm always going to remember. And I want to forget about it as fast as possible with a championship this year. And that's really what it's going to come down to. You know what I mean? So I give Nick all the credit in the world for really saying I screwed up, because that takes a lot. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people will never do that. Okay, it's funny because A.J. Brown can make the biggest catch in practice, but if Nick says something about the relationship between him and Hertz, that will be the focal point of all the news. Like, who cares about training camp? If A.J. Brown waves his hands at practice talking to somebody, they'll make 10 million articles about it. Like, it's just, that's how it is. That's how it is. And that's where we're at in this day and age when it comes to social media, and everyone's got to nitpick every damn thing that you do. And that's just unfortunate. That's the name of the business, and that's where it's at. So I really respect Nick for saying a lot of great things today. Okay. I've held a grudge about Nick. Really, through the free agency, I held a grudge about Nick. Through the draft, I held a grudge against Nick. I wasn't over what he did, and like, he really didn't say much like about he's talked about last season, but you know what I mean. But I think the one thing, and then Hertz gets up to the podium after the 10th day of camp for the post press conference. Okay, Hertz is fed up too, man. Like, it's just. Hertz was like, is that the reality right now? Or I forgot what he said. He's like, is this the reality right now? Is this, I'm probably saying the wrong word, but he was kind of like, are we really talking about this right now? Like, this is last year and we're still talking about this. You know what I mean? Just like when Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, like literally not even a couple days ago, is like, dude, I'm not talking about the Lions. I'm not talking about last year. I'm not talking about why. Like, I just want to win. I want to win a championship. I want to talk about this year. That's all. Like, it's just ridiculous that it doesn't matter what player, what happened, what coach, what happened. Everything has got to be said from last year. All this past shit has to come up constantly. So hopefully it's put to the bed, which it won't be, because the Eagles will lose their first game and they'll be like, oh, Hertz, look what he did during this game. And, oh, Nick looked at Hertz in a mean way. Or, they'll take anything, they'll twist it, and they'll make it negative, and that's just the way it is. So that's all I got to say about that situation. I want to say that for the end of the video. But a great day of Eagles day 10 of training camp, which is fantastic. And hopefully to see more in the coming, to see what happens Friday. What the lineups are going to be like. What do you think? Do you think, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of, obviously, the, how long are the starters going to be in? I'm telling you right now, if the Eagles play one series, the rant I'm going to do. I'm not near a wall, so I can't punch it. That wall seems like it's close, but it's really not. I'm going to hope I don't get into that situation because it's going to be really bad. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more Eagles news every single day. Ranting and raving and saying all this BS as I usually do every day. Thank you so much for everybody supported this offseason and has been supporting. Make sure you like the video. It does help with the channel tremendously. And most likely we will have a stream tonight, most likely. By the time you're watching this video, you'll know when you see the notification. I'll see you guys on the next one. Shakes, what up, follow, slide. Peace out, guys. Peace.